polishing my shoe. And you know what? Yes, I did spit on it. Although I don't think it's really necessary. A little bit of water will do the same. What does it do? Well, it kind of dilutes the Carnauba wax. That's the basis of shoe polish. Carnauba wax is extracted from the leaves of a tree that grows in South America, mostly in Brazil. And it makes for very, very nice wax coating that evens out the surface. Should I worry about polishing? Well, certainly not about the Carnauba wax. But what about other stuff that is in there? In order to make sure that the stuff spreads properly, there's a little bit of petroleum distillate in there. Probably not a good thing to inhale too much of that. And then there are the dyes. Oh, things like nigrosin or 4-ethylamino-benzene. These are the so-called aniline dyes. And they actually have an interesting and a checkered history. Well, let's go back a little bit in time. We go back to the mid-1800s. Up to that time, all colorants were derived from natural sources, from plants, from flowers, from mollusks, etc. But in the middle 1800s, a great discovery was made, accidentally by young William Henry Perkin, who discovered mauve, and this launched a whole industry. And the dyes that started to be manufactured then were referred to as aniline dyes. Aniline is a compound found in coal and tar left behind when coal burns, and that was the raw material for making these things. And it took the world by storm because it would produce a whole range of colors. And this was pretty exciting because of the variation and the spectrum of colors that were produced by the aniline dyes. Well, this, of course, was also interesting to the shoe industry because back in those days, streets were muddy and there was horse excrement all over the place. You would step into the shoes, of course, were quickly destroyed. And when the aniline dyes came along, there was a way of refurbishing shoes, basically by dyeing them. But there was a problem, and that is that the sophistication of the dyeing industry was not enough to make sure that none of the dye went through the leather and got absorbed by the skin. And in some cases that happened. And this resulted in problems aside from skin irritation. You'd have a condition by which the blood's ability to transport oxygen was impaired, a condition known as methemoglobinemia. And this was, unfortunately, a pretty widespread problem in the late 1800s because of the absorption of these dyes from shoes, toxic shoes. And there was also an issue with socks. Well, with the introduction of these dyes, you could make socks that were very, very colorful, and they became very popular. But again, there were incidents of irritation and absorption of some of the chemicals through the skin. Today, there's not much concern about this. Why? Well, first of all, how often do we polish our shoes? I don't do it very frequently, so I'm not concerned about being exposed to the ingredients in here. And as far as coloring fabrics go, well, the dyeing process today is high-tech, and they know exactly what they are doing. And you don't have to worry about any of the aniline dyes being absorbed into the skin. So I'm quite happy with my polished shoes. I'm not worried about the shoe polish. This is one of the most popular ones, interestingly enough. Why is it called Kiwi? Well, in 1904, when this was first introduced in Australia by William Ramsay, his wife came from New Zealand, and he decided to pay homage to her by naming the polish after the national bird of New Zealand. And as far as the dyes go, fabrics, as I said, I'm not worried. I quite happily wear my colorful socks.